Hawai. Kapu kanaka inaba akaurua ki aku kalawai ai ki aho kulewa ana i ke kai hare ke aloha no moa ke ove oluna te mai ka lau ka niu ume ume i ka aia i ke one o hono mauri no ke kai ne kai iri a he kai hoe o e ne i ka poli Ea mai ka ehu Hai maho apuha He Āina nani ka mahoi ka maha o Āina I ke ahi a bele Āina ia mai ana ka puna o mirori I koinoa ka lana hone o nā kupuna Āina ia mai ana ka puna o mirori I koinoa ka lana hone o nā kupuna Aloha ka Āina a o milauri ka lana no ka aho o lana me na alihi lele o kai Aloha ka Āina a o milauri ka lana no ka aho o lana me na alihi lele o kai o e nā kanaka inaba akaurua ki aku kalawai ai ki aho kulewa ana i ke kai hare ke aloha Kamahoi, kamahao, Āina, ke ahia bere. Āina ia mai, ana katu.
Ko was a god that came down, and he wanted a regular life. He wanted a family, he wanted a wife. So he went into a village, took on a wife, had children, and then famine hit the islands. And he realized that if if there was no food to feed the people, they're gonna die. Told his wife that he was gonna leave, and he was never gonna come back, but that the people will live after he's gone. So he dove headfirst into the ground, and when he dove in, she was crying, just crying over the spot that he went into, and her tears are just falling to the spot. And pretty soon this baby ulu seedling came up, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and then it had fruit. And she started taking all the fruit to the rest of the villagers, and that was his legacy, that Ku gave the gift to the people, was this ulu tree with this fruit.
My name is John Cavalier, also known as Ginger John, and I've been on the island 53 years now, and I've been farming on the island 47 years, organically. So I basically started living off the land, and I found that ulu became kind of a mainstay in my diet.
Ulu is a very sustainable food crop. And what I like about it is on the mature grain side, you can make flour. And with the flour, you can bake a lot of things. And then on the ripe side, you can make desserts. So it's very versatile, very nutritious. My name is Tom Menezes. I've been farming in Hawaii for over 45 years on 3 different islands. I have an agroforestry system, which isn't only ulu, but I also have cacao, bananas, and some coconuts.
Well, our food starts and ends at the farm. Without farmers, we don't have a local food system. And farming in Hawaii is really, really hard. Everything costs more. Land is difficult to access. It's just really important that we find a way to support our small farmers. My name is Donna Shapiro. I'm the general manager of the Hawaii Ulu Co-op. I was born on a small cooperative farming community, and when we started our farm in 2015, I immediately saw the need really for a producer co-op to bring ulu into the market in a much stronger way. A co-op is a unique type of organization where the farmers own the business. They're the only shareholders with a vote. They elect a board of directors of farmers. Farmers set the pay price, they set the policies and procedures, they hire the staff, and they have very close relationships with our staff. Small farms have a really hard time growing, reaching scale, raising money, processing, accessing infrastructure, all these things that were really needed to make ulu part of our food system again. And so by forming a co-op, by working together, by bringing farms into partnership with each other, we could achieve all these things. We go through a few real simple steps. We wash and sanitize the fruit, we peel it, cut it into pieces, steam it, package it, and freeze it. And at that point, you have what we call recipe-ready ulu. So we've taken all the challenge out of it. You don't have to be an ulu expert. You don't have to get your knife all sticky and sappy. And maybe most importantly, you can access it all year round. Doing that process enables us to make it really accessible and really easy to use.
The Ulu Co-op is a really special group of farmers that are coming together for this central goal of bringing ulu, to the front of, people's attention for its sustainability and regenerative aspects.
What I like about co-op is it's community-based, so you're working together, and you're not competing with each other, and that's what makes it really nice. It's a win-win for everybody.
Food security means that we have the capacity to feed ourselves if and when needed, and as we choose. I think that the people of Hawaii should have the right to determine what their food system looks like and not to have that dictated for them. As we transition and really evolve fully out of the plantation era into an agricultural state where small diversified family farmers have a stake in the food system, it's important that they have an ownership stake in the food system. And the co-op is a vehicle for that. If there's a single lasting legacy that I'd like to see, it's that it showed Hawaii that co-ops can work here, that co-ops can be successful, that farmers can work together.
Kawika Lewis here at the Āina University. We're located right now in the Ahupua of Pauka'a, but in the ili of Pahoehoe. Āina University is a place where we're normalizing work again back on the Āina for families, schools, organizations, and anyone interested. We actually bringing people outdoors again and getting them familiarized with being in the sun or rain, being in the mud, being around insects. While they're learning how to work, they're actually learning how to grow things, how to gather things. We do a lot of culinary as well, because we need to show everyone how to eat the foods that we're growing and gathering. This program started just off of a dream I had to bring back that ahupua'a. It's like that poster everybody has in their classroom. I grew up with that too, thinking I wanted to find this place. While I was in college at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, I met some kupunas through a kalo group or kalo hui, and it kind of re-sparked my interest in working upon the land and growing different kinds of Hawaiian cultural foods. With my ohana, now here I am today trying to recreate and bring that painting alive, and along the way just sharing the knowledge and mana'o. Today we have Ka'umeke School, Papa'eha, the 4th graders. Their learnings in the classroom back at school is all about the waters of Hawaii and where do they come from, how do they flow upon the Āina, and how that resource is so important. They're here today just to have that live experience on this huaka'i or this field trip, so they can match what they're learning in the classroom and come outdoors and see the live version of it. This class is learning about water. We take them straight into the water, feel the coolness, see how it runs, knowing that whatever happens in the water on the uplands also affects the coastline and the oceans. Man, a lot of the children, as soon as they walk through our gates, the place is reminding them of somewhere they love, or they just feel the good mana and vibes. Because that's one of the questions I ask, how did you feel when you walked through the gates? 99.9% of the time is always they felt good and they felt happy to be here. And, you know, I believe it's inside of all the kids wanting to be outdoors, but there's not much venues or also time within their own families. So I think by bringing them here, it's not only about growing, it's not only about planting or harvesting, it's also about the healing. The land also heals from the children to kupuna. The land is definitely very therapeutic. We're hoping to be here more often because there's so many requests from schools and groups and lots of other people. So we want to be here more often. That's my ohana's goal. We're hoping to get more space to expand because we wanted to actually not just do education, but also wanted to do growing food for East Hawaii due to the location we're at. This area is so beautiful, this Pahoehoe region in Pauka'a. We have our spring water systems, just like that Ahupua. We're in the upper regions and we're looking right down into the blue ocean. So yeah, this location is just real powerful and lots of mana and good spirit. We're always open for everyone to come down. We've done some sporting teams, hula halaus, elementary school, middle school, high school, college. And, you know, if you just get in contact with us, we'll email you back and we'll schedule something. But please come on down because this place has blossomed through the love and aloha from everyone who came and visited. Kealoha, I'm Kawika Lewis, and we're at the Āina University where we grow, gather, and grind.
Aloha and welcome to Nāhanahana Oha, brought to you by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, the public policy, our public policy paya. My name is Akoni Nelson. I am a public policy advocate here on the island of Hawaii, over on the west side at our West Hawaii Resource Center. And today I'm joined by my fellow coworker, Kamaile Puluole-Mitchell, who is our East Hawaii public policy advocate, who is actually assisting us in behind-the-scenes logistics of today's discussion. So I'd like to make a shout-out to make sure that I introduce Kamaile as well. We are streaming live today from Nani Mall Gardens with a perfect Merrie Monarch weather outside. Earlier today we had the Ka'ua Kani Lehua, and it looks like we have Kanehoalani showing up, our sun, with some nice blue skies and clouds here at the 61st Annual Merrie Monarch. Today's live streaming is brought to us, of course, by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, but we'd like to mahalo K-Vikes Media and the students of Hilo High School to help us with the live streaming and the videography. Big shout out to the students there. Also, mahalo to Nani Mall Gardens, who provided the space for us for today and our tomorrow's panel as well. If you want more information on Nani Mall, you can visit their website at nanimallgardens.com. And for more information regarding K-Vikes, go check them out on their Facebook page or their Instagram page as well. In the spirit of the 61st Annual Merrie Monarch Festival, I look forward to our panel discussion as we discuss today Āina Momona and self-determination. We have a nice panel this afternoon and to have our nice discussion. But before we dive into our discussion, I'd like to turn towards our panelists who will be helping us setting that space for us and grounding us in our discussion with Ōhelo No'eau. So if I can ask Kawika, if you can share your Ōhelo No'eau and what that means and how that applies to this space that we have today.
Well, mahalo. Yeah. Hello, everybody. My Ōhelo No'eau that always sticks out to me is he kanaka, he ali kalamai.
He ali ka Āina.
Yeah, he ali ka Āina. He kanaka, ke kanaka.
He kawa, ke kanaka.
He kawa, ke kanaka. Kalamai. Even though I did a lot of speaking, I get a little nervous and forget offhand.
Yeah, so.
But anyway, of course, the definition is the land is chief and man is her servant. So the way I look at that is that the Āina or the land is the chief in many ways, where it's not only providing food for us, it's also providing so much healing towards our well-being, whether it's emotional, mental, physical. So it's the chief in many ways, such as those examples. So that's what I believe the Ōhelo No'eau is about.
Mahalo, Kawika. Donna, you have a Ōhelo No'eau that you'd like to share with us today?
I will just piggyback on Kawika's.
Nice.
I think that sums up
Sounds
the
good.
theme of this panel.
Yeah,
well.
pretty good. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Kuike, you have a Ōhelo No'eau to share with us today to ground our space?
Sure, Connie. Mahalo.
Yeah.
To open this space and to share space with our panelists as well as Oha. I'd like to share this Ōhelo No'eau from my wā kamali'i, ingrained in me from my training in Kaiapuni. Yeah, and it goes as such. Ho'okahi wale no la o ka malihini. And again, it's ho'okahi wale no la o ka malihini. It literally translates into there's only one day that you're a guest. And the reason why I want to share this, right, especially in the context of this panel, that it really, really means that after the first day, one must join the work.
Yeah.
We cannot just sit around and expect somebody else to come and malama the things that we need to ensure the future generations are pono.
I like that. Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for the grounding, guys. Before we start, I'd like to also make mention that Nāhanahana Ōha for 2024 also is grounded and rooted in ʻOHA Office of Hawaiian Affairs strategic points. We have 3 strategic foundations based on Āina, Mo'omehiu, and Ohana. And our strategic directions are focused towards educational pathways, economic stability, quality housing, and health outcomes. Also, ʻOHA's, just a brief history of ʻOHA. We were founded in under the 1978 Constitutional Concon decision, where the state of Hawaii legislation enacted Chapter 10 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, making ʻOHA a semi-autonomous, self-governing body that outlines the established public trust to include the betterment of the conditions of Native Hawaiians. Also, federal legislation allowed the Native Hawaiian, where the Native Hawaiians are recognized through various congressional acts and resolutions, such as the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act of 1920, the Admissions Act of 1959, the Native Hawaiian Healthcare Improvement Act, as well as the Native Hawaiian Education Act, and further the resolution of the Apology Resolution that was released in 1993 by President Clinton's administration. ʻOHA's mandate falls under Article 12, Section 5, where the trust responsibility is holds the title and real and personal property held in a trust for Native Hawaiians, as well as under Article 12, Section 6, where the proceeds from the sales or disposition of land, natural resources, minerals, and income derived from whatever sources for Native Hawaiians, as well as all incomes and proceeds from the pro rata portion of the public trust of the Admissions Act, as well as formulate policy relating to Native Hawaiian affairs and exercise control over real and personal property set aside or transferred to ʻOHA. And so these are our mandates and the purpose of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Again, I'd like to mahalo K-Vikes as well as Nani Gardens for bringing us our discussion today. So let's just get right into it. If our first question is about ho'olauna, where we get to understand and know and get to know and become accustomed to our panelists. So I'd like to start off with Kawika. If Kawika, you can share with us, the work that you do, as well as how you arrived, and share with us how you arrived to the work that you did, what inspired you, and what brought you to where you're at today.
Okay, great. Well, the work that we do up at the Āina University is actually a wide array of things. Besides just growing, besides just harvesting, besides just planting, we also been working closely with the kids about just life skills as well. So we do a lot of that, and we also show them just a cultural ways of being, just showing them it's not, we can't blame the children of today's world because it's a whole different generation. So we just kind of share our thoughts on how life should be looked at using the Āina as a classroom, and it really helps them understand the importance of all the cultural things that we do with them. But as well, as far as me getting to this point, I was born and raised in Kapuhulu, Oahu, where where was just only surfing and stuff like that. That's all I thought about. But also in my elementary classroom, I saw the Ahu Pua'a poster in my kindergarten classroom, Mrs. Ka'aihui, and when I saw the poster, I was wondered where that place was, that Ahu Pua'a poster. So, as life went on, I moved to the Big Island, been here for 35 years now, Well, when I was in, when I went to do some college classes, I met some kupuna that was in some kalo. It was a kalo hui, actually. So they re-sparked my interest about growing food and stuff. So that's where I got my family involved with the passion and dedication. And next thing you know, we got 12 years under our belt with Āina University, and you know, everything just came into play after all of those inspirations from the kupuna about guiding and sharing with me how we should look at the land, how should the land be taken care of, stewarded, and all of those great things. And that's how we came up with our motto at Āina University, means to grow, gather, and grind. So we do some growing. We do some growing of our food supply and resources, some gathering around the area as well. And the last part is grinding, so we do also cuisine. We teach the kids not just how to grow the food, but actually how to cook the food and prepare. Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a long journey, but I cannot express how glad I am to meet the kupuna that really inspired me to go on this journey of sharing the food and working with the Āina. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got here today.
Yeah, thank you, Kawika. I remember it's that Ahupua'a poster that we all see growing up in the classroom.
A big inspiration.
But I'm thinking, you know, living in Kapahulu and seeing that every day must have been pretty inspiring to be like, I like touch the left.
Well, I know I was just looking at, you know, Mount Leahi or Diamond Head. And never really see the waterfall.
Never see them,
But I was wondering where was that place. So when we came to Hawaii, or the Big Island, it was it kind of
was a little bit more accessible.
A little bit more accessible, and then we could actually view that Ahupua'a look with the river, and, you know, everything flowing through from Mauka to Mokai.
Awesome. Yeah, interesting. Thanks, Kawika. Mahalo. Donna, can you share and elaborate a little bit about who you are and the work that you do, and what inspired you to come into Ulu?
Yeah, mahalo, and mahalo for having me in the co-op here. I don't know if this is
it's on. Mic on? It's fire.
Okay. I'll speak into it then. So my name is Donna. I'm not from Hawaii originally. I've been living here since 2010, so for about 14 years. But I hail from a cooperative farming community. That's where I was born, and I also went back and actually did my master's degree on the cooperative business model back where I'm from. And so when I came to Hawaii and really just learned about a lot of the food system and natural resource problems that we have here, you know, I couldn't help but kind of think back to where I'm originally from and try to draw some parallels or ideas to increase resilience and increase Āina Momona here. And that's really been my work of applying the cooperative model to the very kind of burgeoning or revitalizing Ulu movement here in Hawaii. And I was first introduced to Ulu through coworkers. When I first moved here in 2010, I worked at a small honey farm in Ahualoa near Waimea. And one of my coworkers was very involved in the Ulu Festival. By this time it was 2011 at Amy Greenwell Ethnobotanical Garden, and then here in Pahoa. And she roped me in because they needed more volunteers. And I really hadn't. I think I'd eaten ulu a few times, but I didn't know a lot about the crop. And I was blown away by the culinary versatility, right? Ulu's a very unique crop in several ways, but one of the ways is that you can eat the fruit at every single stage of its development. From when it first emerges out of the flower, and it's a teeny spiky ball, you can steam or boil it, and it's kind of like an artichoke heart. It has an artichoke flavor. You can pickle it or eat it on pizza or put it in salads. And then, of course, it becomes starchy and mature, and that's when most people eat it. It's more potato-like, if you want to compare it to something, kind of neutral flavor. But it's a fruit, so it also ripens and becomes like a sweet banana or a custard. Anyway, I love to cook, and I was just absolutely inspired by the culinary opportunities. And so I stayed really involved in the festival and joined the board. And the next year I met my now husband, Noah Lincoln, who's now the professor of indigenous crops and cropping systems at UH Manoa at CITAR. And he, at the time, was finishing up his PhD in part on the traditional ulu belt, the Kalu Ulu of South Kona. Yeah. And he really opened my eyes to the abundance that was here in Hawaii not a very long time ago. Yeah. We're talking, only maybe 150 years ago, there were intact ulu agroforestry systems and other incredibly productive food systems all over Hawaii. Yeah. And that kind of sealed the deal for me in terms of, eyes are open now. We can do this again. There's no reason not to. Yeah. And so I feel that my contribution really is just bringing in some social structures in terms of how farmers can organize themselves to help move us forward in a significant way. Because I think that there's a lot of momentum now around food security and indigenous crops, and the important role that indigenous crops can and really have to play in the future food system resilience of Hawaii.
For sure, thanks, Donna. Yeah, thank you for giving us that insight of Ōai Koinoa. Our next guest, Kuike Kamakea Ōhelo, who is also the Oiwi Wellbeing and Āina Momona Director here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Kuike is here giving us some insight of some of his projects. And Kuike, share with us how you got involved with Āina and what inspired you, and all the way to how you are, where you're at today, even, and what your role is in community today.
Mahalo, Akoni. Alo mai kākou, wau no o Kuike Kamakea Ōhelo, ka pohaku kihi mauliola no ke keena o nā mea Hawaii I āpau. Aloha again, panelists, and Akoni. My name is Kuike Kamakea Ōhelo, and as you mentioned, I am now serving within the Office of Hawaiian Affairs as the Director for Oiwi Wellbeing and Āina Momona. And what that entails in my role here at OHA is, as you mentioned earlier, OHA has a 15-year strategic plan called Mani Mauliola. And one of the four strategies is health outcomes. So this role within OHA is a brand new role, and the kuleana is really to oversee, the strategies and assist in developing those strategies and tactics for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, which entails, that covers really a broad scope, strengthening Oiwi, which is cultural identity, Ea, self-governance, Āina Momona, healthy lands and people, Pilina, relationships, Vaivai, shared wealth, as well as Keakua Mana, spirituality. And that looks like many things in many places for all of our lahui. And OHA is currently really focused on identifying our community and trying to meet our community where they are. So we can figure out how we can kako'o the future of our lahui through this strategy, health outcomes.
Awesome.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I'm going to ask one more question.
Please do.
What inspired you to come in to do this work?
What inspired me to come in to do this work for OHA?
Or just in general?
In general. Okay, mahalo for the clarity. This is I often explain to people, this is the Aloha Āina continuum. My parents are, I'm the son of and the product of Kawahine Kamakea and Kalani Ōhelo, and I'm also the Hanai son of Kawaikapo Kalani Hewitt. And when I express and say this is the Aloha Āina continuum, is because what my parents and what my kupuna have instilled and have set forth for me is the path to ensure, and I believe, is to ensure that I leave a legacy. I leave for our keiki coming in the future, mahope o mako, a legacy of clean water, clean air, clean food, clean soil, clean politics. And all of the above. Because truth be told, is all of those things were encompassed in our past. So ikawa mamua, kawa mahope. And that continues to inspire me today when I look into the eyes of my keiki. Mahalo for the question.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Now we got to learn a little bit more of our panelists. let's dive into some of the subject matter questions that they can share on today's topic. So, of course, our topic is about Āina Momona and self-determination. In what ways of our community-based projects in food security, which is defined as the right of people to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agriculture systems. Kawika, in what way does the Āina University play its role, and how does it help with this definition of Āina Momona and self-determination?
Yeah, I guess Āina University's role in all of this is actually bringing it to the forefront for the future generations. It's really just to show them that we cannot really depend on our food imports. We just our role is to show them how to use the foods that we grow. Because I feel that if we just gave the kids some ulu, for example, or kalo, or sometimes we gather ho'io or the warabi fern shoots, and we give them the recipe, yeah, we'll try this at home. I believe it'll probably just stay on the counter. So what I found out is that if we show them the way, let them cut the harvest, clean, cut, cook, eat, I think that's a big impact on how they look at foods that are grown upon the Āina. And also, in our location of Pahoehoe, we're looking right down into the ocean, and we see the barge, the young brothers or Matson barge passing by while we're planting trees or harvesting. And I use that as an example that, I tell the kids, one day that barge is not going to come by, and what's in that barge? And, we've discussed it. So they go, yeah, there's food, there's medicine, there's cars, there's this and that. I said, yeah, that's true, but one day it's not going to have that barge come passing right past us. So what are you going to do then? So that's what we use to motivate the kids about, food security and food sovereignty and food independence, whatever anybody calls it. But that's our role in all of this at Āina University, is actually just to inspire, just to see another outlook towards the food we eat. Like Kawika mentioned, the clean food, the clean water, the clean minds, So that's what we do at Āina University, is just that spark, that interest of what if, we didn't have food security? What if? Are we going to just go to the store and when it says it's closed and, cry over there and say, I need my food, and, everybody's attacking it. So as long as you can grow something, you don't have to grow everything, is what I mentioned to people, is that what's going to happen is that we need to learn how to share or barter again, like the ahupua'a system. Uncle then with the fish may share for some of your kalo, or auntie with her, her crafts or different things that they do. So I just, we just at Āina University try to just change the outlook towards food, because I've seen kids think that breakfast, lunch, and dinner is the cookie in a package and the chips in a package. And I tell them, it's not a problem. We're all guilty of that sometimes, but some of them, that's all they know. But at Āina University, we kind of help change their palate on the foods, the cleaner grown foods that we eat, such as ulu, such as kalo, and all kinds of different fruits and vegetables and cultural crops. So I think that's what we do at Āina University, is to just show them a different way to look at the food.
Awesome. Yeah. Opening up some options, yeah?
Yes, opening up the options,
like
changing their palate.
Yeah.
And, and actually seeing their difference in behavior and learning. I guess research shows, you eat candy all day. I don't know if you're going to learn much, but I mean, if you get nice couple of slices of ulu or oranges or limes or star fruit or whatever we have in season at the time, mountain apples, avocados. They really, not only the kumu, but I think the kids themselves they have changed how they, whether it's their behavior or their classroom management and whatnot. But it's been a nice, interesting ride to share a different idea about food towards the next generation.
It also sounds like there's a little bit of relationship building between the soil, the food, and what they're consuming.
Yes, as long as they're able to touch it with you, and it seems like that is one of a good method to change their minds towards food.
I like that.
Getting them involved with the preparation, with the harvesting, the cleaning, the cooking, and the eating.
Yeah, I agree. Having the rights of people to healthy and culturally appropriate foods produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods. Donna, can you explain about how co-ops can be an advantage to that right?
I think the role of a co-op is pretty much always to fill a gap. A gap in the needs of the community that isn't being met through any other means. It's a type of social enterprise that's accountable to its community, and it's governed democratically through a one-member, one-vote governance structure. In our case, we're a farmer-owned co-op. There are lots of different kinds of co-ops out there. There's school co-ops, there's consumer co-ops, there's utility co-ops. We have one in Hawaii, the Kauai Utility is a consumer co-op. So in our farmer co-op, the prime beneficiary, the member, is an ulu farmer. And when we started, almost 8 years ago now, the ulu market or consumer general public awareness, I think, of ulu was actually in a very different place. I think many more people hadn't heard of ulu or tasted ulu or knew why ulu, what the benefits of ulu were. And so we came together, our farm is actually located in South Kona in the kind of center of the historic ulu belt. But we and 8 other farmers came together. It was 9 of us that incorporated into a co-op in the summer of 2016. And since then, we've grown to 150 plus farmers across 4 islands. So Maui, Oahu, and Kauai are now included in the co-op as well. But the shared need that our co-op was created to fill was the lack of a market. And it's so challenging for farmers in Hawaii today, full stop. No more is needed to be said about that. It's really, really hard to farm and make it in Hawaii economically, land access, labor. There's so many challenges. But on top of all of that, building a new market, consumer education for, a relatively new crop or a crop that really needs to be reintroduced to the population, that is so much more than an individual small farmer can do. And so the shared need that we came together to fill was really building the rest of the value chain so that us small-scale ulu farmers could focus on growing ulu well and planting the trees and caring for the trees and harvesting them, which is more than a full-time job in and of itself. And I think that core purpose that the co-op was created to fill is still our core purpose. It's continuing to build the value chain for now 157 farmers instead of 9, but continuing to grow because now there really is a lot more momentum behind us. And I think that same function that our co-op serves for ulu farmers, a co-op could serve in a lot of other respects to advance this vision of restoring Āina Momona in Hawaii. Again, whether that's serving, market development or processing needs for kalo or ava or ko or any of these other indigenous crops, to like the Hamakua Agricultural Cooperative is a land co-op that was formed in the vacuum that the Hamakua sugar plantation formed. It now leases out land to farmers in Hamakua. That's a super important function as well. That can increase access to land for farmers, which is a huge need, especially for Native Hawaiian farmers. to a consumer co-op? What if there was a consumer co-op, on any of our islands that focused on indigenous crops or indigenous foods to make those more accessible? So I think the real distinction between a co-op and another kind of business is that it only exists to serve an unmet need, from kind of its community, its core community, whatever that unmet need might be. And it's different depending on the community that you're focused on.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice organic way to approach food security at some point as well. Yeah, like building a co-op in a community. Kawika, do you want to elaborate a little bit about what food security means, or Āina Momona, and probably help us provide some definition around that? And even if you want to weave in some of that self-determination part of it, if you want to give us some synopsis.
How much time we got, Akoni?
We get about 6 days. Nah, just kidding.
All right. I'll be here for the long haul.
Yeah, but give us some insight from the Kawika world.
Mahalo. Yeah. Mahalo. I think very simply, yeah. And in order to achieve Āina Momona, you need Āina. Āina comes before Momona. Yeah. Right? So if we're looking into the future and we want our lahui to be healthy, if we want our mo'opuna to be healthy, if we want our mo'opuna to be momona, pu'i a momona nohoi, we need Āina. Because all food is Āina-based, whether that's land-based or ocean-based, like the CBFSAs that was previously discussed in the panel right before us.
Yeah.
Everything has kuleana back to Āina. Yeah. Okay, so without Āina, we cannot be Momona. Yeah. And I just want to speak towards that too, like Kawika shared. Watching the Matson container roll by, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's safe to say that we all on this panel can agree, you are what you eat, right? And currently, the statistics are this. Upwards of 92 to 97% of all foods consumed in Hawaii comes off of a ship from someplace else. Now, if we all agree that we are what we eat, but we know nothing about the foods that we consume, we don't know who grew it, where they grew it, how they harvested it, the malama and care put into that food, and the duration of time it took, and the care in handling that before it got to you, the consumer. If we know nothing about the foods we consume, what do we know about ourselves?
Yeah.
That is the truth in the food industry, that is the truth in the health industry, that is the truth in the educational industry in Hawaii. So looking at all of this in a holistic sense, Ōha's kuleana is really to make sure that all of our actions moving forward, right, leads us to determining for self, right, leads us to determining what air looks like for us, okay? So in all of these senses. So back to food security.
Yeah.
The physical food, the emotional food, psychological food, right? Economical food, political food. Yeah. All of these things is in Ōha's kuleana. Yeah. I believe Mane Mauleola moving forward will address all of these issues across the board. Therefore, we'll hopefully in the near future put our lahui in a place where we can have security in Āina, and therefore our mo'opuna get pu'i a momona nohoi.
I like that. Yeah. That's awesome because without the Āina, there's no there's no consumption, right?
Yeah.
And that's where all of our sources are at, is in that Āina. Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, did I answer your question?
I think
you can tell me no, and then if you get a couple more minutes, then I can elaborate.
I like that we get a couple more minutes to elaborate.
Fine, sure.
I think that there's so many different people viewing this that we could probably provide options for different perspectives. I think.
Sure.
Yeah. If you got a couple more things that you want to add to that.
Well, in the sense of air, I just going to just real quickly, we have the structure set up in front of us, and I'm going to frame it in this way, 1876, our Mo'i Kalakaua, he wrote this mele that we all know today. You know what that mele is?
1876.
1876, or Mo'i Kalakaua at that time,
He wrote
wrote this mele. And we all know what this is.
It's a Hawaii Pono'i.
It is Hawaii Pono'i. If we just translate the title of that mele, it is Hawaii Pono'i, translate into English, Hawaii's own.
Yeah.
That is how we achieve air. It is self-governance. Our people need to determine for themselves what that looks like. OHA as the agency, the fourth arm of government in Hawaii, tasked with the kuleana to ensure that the state and its agents are in compliance with their laws, to ensure that all of our actions, the state and its people, right, are in line and in compliance fiduciarily and constitutionally, right, to their laws, to ensure that all of our actions moving forward is for the betterment of all Native Hawaiians. So Hawaii Pono'i, if we simply just look back at that mele and thought about the words that we sing every time we stand up together, I really, really think that could be the kahua or the baseline or the foundation of where we pivot for our future when it comes to Āina Momona, when it comes to self-governance and air.
Beautiful. I think we need our next panel to be on Hawaii Pono'i, to understand what
that's
it
a
is.
deep pool.
Yeah.
I can swim well.
I mean, today we have E Maukea o Kaina Kapono right behind of us.
Oya.
And I think that's important that we can go back to our mele to find out some of our foundational.
And if I can share just a little bit, as Anakala Kawika shared earlier, Heli I Āina he kawa ke kanaka. And if we look at Hawaii Pono'i, Nana, I Komo'i, what is the next words? Kalani ali'i, and that's exactly it. If we ho'i back to our ali'i, if we ho'i back to the perspective and views of our kupuna, globally, nationally, locally, all the governments are talking about indigenizing process, indigenizing politics, indigenizing science, indigenizing agriculture, indigenizing everything. We never went anywhere. And that's why I say, if we simply just look back to our kupuna and lean on our kupuna, we have the master plan. Mahalo.
Thank you. Mahalo. Okay, it's great insight. I did some of that.
A couple more minutes.
I just kind of fielding in some questions that came in, and some because I think they're kind of similar to some of the questions that we have. But actually, I'm going to go to the audience. We had some really cool questions come in from our online audience right now. And one of them was, how are food systems influencing and being impacted by climate change? So I'm going to ask maybe Donna if you can elaborate first, and then we'll come to you, Kawika, afterwards.
That's a great question. I mean, they are impacted by climate change hugely, right? And there's, I guess, maybe I'll give two different perspectives on this answer. Anecdotally, here in Hawaii, we see ulu season changing every single year. And it is, as a tropical fruit tree, it is more variable than some other crops that always fruit at the same time every year. But in the last few years, it has been all over the place. Yeah. And in our discussion with others from across the Pacific, we're part of an international group called the Pacific Island Farmers Organization Network. We hear similar things, that in Tonga and Samoa, it's just wacky. And so that's one part of climate change, is that the patterns, the environmental patterns, and as a result, the cropping patterns, are shifting. And it's really hard to put a finger on what that shift is because we're in flux right now. So that's kind of one side, is that there's just more uncertainty, more change at the local level. The other piece of that is globally. Globally, our climate is shifting and habitat bands are moving. In kind of the climate models that scientists are putting out there, generally people think that the habitat for the world's primary staple crops, rice, corn, wheat, are all shrinking, which is really frightening, right, for global food security. Just because of shifting weather patterns, temperatures, precipitation, right? Everything is changing. So on a global level, that's kind of a foreboding outlook. But the good news is that habitat area for ulu is actually growing within Hawaii and across the world. So I think that as we move, into kind of the future years, leaning into our indigenous crops and our indigenous kind of tree crops and agroforestry systems in particular is going to be more and more important, not just for Hawaii, but really for the whole world. Because these crops are, looking at the traditional Hawaiian crops, they are adapted to warmer environments. As a tree crop, you can withstand, droughts or more extreme weather events better than annual crops. And agroforestry systems as a whole, where trees are intentionally integrated into food production systems, those systems tend to be more resilient. Because you have more diversity within the system, and you have this backbone of trees that can, root down, help prevent soil erosion. If there is a drought, trees can tap into groundwater. There's tons of ecosystem services that trees provide that annual crops don't. And so I think this conversation is going to become all the more important in the years to come. And again, not just in Hawaii, but all over the world. And I think that more people are going to start looking toward indigenous food systems, especially agroforestry systems.
As part of an adaptation plan, yeah, I like that. That's awesome. Kawika, can you elaborate as well?
Yeah, sure. Well, as a person that kind of was just planting the trees and the crops, and not so much on the scientific end, but of course when you're around all the plants and the trees, you kind of get to notice, just like what Donna was saying, wow, it's flowering now, it's still fruiting now, it's not fruiting yet. All of those questions arose while you're looking around your orchard or your area of all your crops, and you just notice that, wow, there's so much different change, where before it was almost like clockwork, but now as the clock is kind of all over the place with the flowering and the fruiting. So that's what I'm noticing, maybe with the climate change. Part of the question. But another important part of the climate change is also the invasive pest change that comes along with it. There's so much that every farmer has to deal with all of this invasive pests or insects. It's
the
amazing.
Rhino, that rhino beetle.
Yeah, that's one of them. The rhinoceros beetle. But I just can't believe just within the past few years on the influx on the invasive insect change is done, as well as the climate change. So, being a farmer and a person that grows food, man, you got so much challenges where, it may make you feel like you want to give up, like, oh, this thing is destroying my crop and can't do this and that. So all of this is changing. The whole world, whether it's the climate, whether it's invasives, or just so many changes the people who work with the land is going through, and I don't think a lot of people realize that unless they're doing it.
Right.
But yes, there's a lot of change going on, and it's pretty it's pretty what you call right in plain sight.
Super weird question, but I always hear beetles and bugs and insects kind of as a negative impact to crops. Is there any beetle, bug, or something that contributes to the crop in some way or another?
I mean, the native ones, the ones that are supposed to be here, right?
Are they native Hawaiian ones? I'm just kidding. But
well, I mean, there's ones that are native to the island. Here's a good example.
Yeah.
There's have you heard of the Queensland longhorn beetle? It's one of our bad recent invasive beetles, and So in its home environment in Australia, it's not a problem. It just lives in the ecosystem and it has predators and it's in check. Like
So it belongs in Australia, not Hawaii, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But here it has no predators, and so it can actually, what it does is it lays its eggs inside the tree, and the larvae eat the tree from the inside out. And ulu is one of its top 3 hosts, which is why I know anything about it. But there's been a great trial out of the USDA ARS based in Hilo, where they collected native nematodes from the beach at Hilo Bay, and they found that the nematodes will attack the QLB larva and basically turn around the whole infestation and save a tree.
Wow,
So
I like
there's
that
an example of a good,
Yep.
insect combating an invasive species.
That's cool. Awesome. Okay. There's hope. Yeah, in insect,
Yeah.
in the bugs world, bugs life. Kawika, I have a question for you from one of the audience.
Oh. Send them on the Venmo.
Yeah. Right?
Our beneficiaries need help. Send them on the Venmo.
Yeah. Why is it difficult for some to address the relationship between food, health, and inclusion? Let's just try and just do the. Why is it difficult for some to address the relationship between food and health? I don't know what inclusion means. Do you understand that?
What's the question?
Why is it difficult?
Why is it difficult for some to address the relationship between food,
health, and inclusion? You can mention water diversion as the food, health, and inclusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will attempt to my best to pane.
Yeah.
And mahalo to those who are viewing for submitting questions. And please click the share button. Yeah, because more people need to be informed. Yeah. And so anyways, let me try my best to respond. I see the questions growing. From a sentence to a paragraph. It's fine. No, it's fine. And
inclusion as identity.
Inclusion as identity. Whoa, okay, so re-ask the question then.
Yes, I will. Let me reframe the
Mahalo,
question. So why is it difficult for some to address the relationship between food, health, and identity?
Oof. Yeah. I don't want to try and generalize this for everyone, so I will narrow this down to my perspective as a Kanaka, as a Maoli and Native Hawaiian. Yeah. It's difficult for some, and this is my belief through observations and just watching my own ohana. It's difficult for some because, one, they don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. And they think they understand where they come from, and when you ask them, for instance, I'm from Manalo. So you can ask any one of my cousins, where are you from? They're going to be, I'm Manalo. Okay, well, what's the name of the 2 islands out in the bay? The answer you can probably get is Rabbit Island and Flat Island. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's in fact Manana and Ko'ohikaipu. So to me, is you got to know where you come from in order to know, right, where you're going. Why? Because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know if you ever left. So I'm going to bring it back down to answer the question. Yeah. The question is, why is it difficult for some, right, to address the relationship between food, health, and identity?
Yeah.
It is simply because we don't know the mo'oku auhau of the things we consume.
Yes, I agree.
Yesterday, traditionally, we knew who grew it. We knew who gathered it. Mm-hmm. We knew how it was taken care of. We knew how it came to the table. And we knew how we had, what kuleana we have to consume it. Yeah. Today, that's not so. Why? It's because our closest pilina to Āina is food land.
Yeah, the barge.
Our closest pilina to Āina is Safeway. Yeah, we don't have that human interaction. Yeah, we look at the shelf, we think, there's food. We've been programmed for this. So it's going to take a bit of, I don't know what is the technical term, but deconstruction.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then reconstruct.
And reconstruct.
And that's it, is we really need people, really need our people, our ohana, yeah, to go, look at mo'oku auhau.
Yeah.
Yeah? Go look at yourself in the mirror. Yeah. Ask yourself, how you identify? How you identify with the Āina kupuna that you come from? How you identify with the kupuna you come from?
Yeah.
And how you identify with the kupuna of tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, because much of society just lives their lives aimlessly. Yeah, checking boxes. You know, to me is if you set your intentions, you set your purpose, and then you ask yourself why.
Yeah.
So, I hope I answered the question. Mahalo for those who are viewing and sending the questions through, and I really appreciate the engagement.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kawika. I appreciate that perspective as well, because I feel like we have been disconnected.
Akoni, I sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there. I'm no expert.
Yeah.
This is just things that I've observed in my
world
short
of
time
Kawika.
walking this earth.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
mahalo. And if I offend anybody, kalamai na valevali ko Ōhelo.
Mahalo for that, and I appreciate that you're saying that. I think for us it's a matter of discussion, and sometimes we need to have discussion around certain subjects. And so I think my community understands how I advocate in my community, that we dive into areas that can be sensitive sometimes, but I think it's important that we have perspectives, and it's not necessarily the final perspective. So mahalo for that. I do wanna mention how I think we have been disconnected from our own soil. As Kawika mentioned, they're watching the barge float in, and that's part of the disconnect of the mo'oku auhau. We think of mo'oku auhau as just a list of names of ancestors, but it also connects us to the place, the ecosystem, the environment that grows us. So I think
And
that
if
helps.
I can just add,
Yeah, for sure.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to ask our viewers.
Yeah.
What does the law say?
Yeah.
Right? So go look up what the law says and then ask yourself, why did the state legislation, why did the United States Congress, right, put these laws into place? It is truly to address the crimes against Native Hawaiians. So understand the history of who you are, where you come from, your people, your ohana, and your pili and kuleana to Āina.
Yes.
Right? It's that disposition, right? That disenfranchisement, right? That we're living with that results today. I ask you, you happy? If not, get out the va'a.
Yeah.
You know? If that's not the path you want to head down, hey, know oneself. Hawaii pono I.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Do any of you have any further perspective that you want to add to that? No?
I would maybe just add one thought.
Yeah.
Share another perspective
Yeah.
or add to it. So food, health, and identity, I think can be very intertwined.
Yeah.
Right? And it's uncomfortable to change.
Yes.
I think that's part of it. Is, if I eat rice every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and someone is telling me I should eat more ulu or kalo, like, that's a change.
Yeah.
And maybe, you love rice, even though rice isn't grown here anymore and is generally grown with lots of harmful pesticides and is actually subsidized by the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so cheap in comparison to Hawaii-grown staple foods, which, by the way, that's the food group in which we are the least self-sufficient. So if we import 92% of our food overall, we import something like 99.6% of our staple foods. Yeah. And if the barge stops coming, you're going to really want some local staple food. That's the food group that provides most of our calories to survive, right? This is now shedding some weight on a particular food group, which is really important for survival. It's hard to make that shift. even if psychologically or on an intellectual level that it's the right thing to do, maybe start eating ulu once a week instead of rice. It's another thing to actually make that change, because where are you going to find it? What if you don't have your own tree? What if it's not the season? What if it costs more? Which it does. And again, it tastes different. And so I think the work that Kawika's doing, exposing kids at a young age, not just to the crop, but to how to prepare the crop and then how to eat the crop, is so important. And I think to take that a step further, we really do have to institutionalize these foodways through, for example, our schools, through what's available at the supermarket shelf, because ultimately we don't all grow 100% of our food, or we don't have the ability to barter for 100% of the food with our neighbors, even though that's a great ideal, a great goal. We are involved, we interface in so many different ways with institutions and commercial businesses all the time. And so I think it's very important to penetrate those systems as well. And I can speak just from my own experience. I have 2 kids. They're in elementary school, public school. And even though we expose them to lots of Hawaii-grown staple crops at home, they are so influenced by what they serve at school. And if they don't see these crops ever on their school menu and they don't ever see their kids eating it, it almost undoes some of the work that we do in the home environment. And so I just think it's really important to penetrate system-wide with these crops and with these behaviors.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Donna, for mentioning that. And as how Āina University works with keikis. We had a question from a viewer. Her name is Mahina Blankenfeld Kaheki. And her question for the panelists was kind of, I think you might have answered part of it, but her question for the panelists is that, I'm guessing she's a teacher, because she said that her and her students are trying to answer this question that I will pose right now. How is ahupua'a living relevant to sustainability in Hawaii today?
Wow.
Anyone?
Well, I'll add a little bit.
Okay, sounds good, Kawika.
Yeah. Well, it's relevant. Well, of course, our ahupua'as are there still yet already. It's just learning about the ahupua'a and its function and its relevancy, So I think we have to go back to the ahupua'a. Just like Kuike was saying, we got to go back to our kupuna and what they shown us, what they told us, what they taught us. So that's my whole, not mine, but Āina University and my ohana, that's our whole thing is with the ahupua'a system and how we can use that system of everybody's kuleana along the uka, kula, and kai was important. Everybody's kuleana or responsibilities are very important. So it goes to show that's how we can live in today's world, because everybody's trying to top each other in today's world instead of saying, you know what, we're going to work together. So that's how I think it can be of relevance in today's world, is that we go back to that style of living. Of course, we get one konohiki or ali'i, but that can be just like the school got one konohiki or ali'i with a principal or something, so you can use that either at home, at school, or your business, or anything. But just the way, just the thinking of that, everybody's kuleana is just as important as the other one. Where today it's kind of like, if you're up here, then you just look down. That kind of more corporate type of living. But I think ahupua'a living can be a little bit more, more, not so much equal, but just everybody has their importance is what I'm trying to get at amongst the ahupua'a. For a greater cause than themselves. So that's what I feel.
I think and Donna had mentioned about how she defined co-op. and how they incorporate co-op into the land system that they're on right now. I think there's a similarity there as what you're mentioning. But Donna, is there something that you'd like to? I know you mentioned some things already earlier, but is there more that you'd like to? How you like to address that question?
The question of the relevance of the ahupua'a.
How is ahupua'a relevant?
Yeah. I mean, I think ahupua'a is such a powerful concept for how everything is connected and how your actions trickle down or trickle up, right? Yeah. And so in the ahupua'a system, there's different components, as Kawika was saying, different systems within the ahupua'a that relate and that depend on each other and that can damage each other if not managed, wisely. And so, I mean, nothing's changed. We're just not managing. Well, two things. We're not managing all of our resources wisely, but we're also just not managing a lot of resources. Just look around at all the fallow land around Hilo, around where we're gathered here today. There's so much underutilized land that's just invasive forest. It's not even really serving, a significant ecosystem service for native fauna or flora. It's just invasive species that have taken over unused space. Yeah. So I think, an inspiration is how can we reclaim, more of Hawaii's precious resources and find their highest purpose. That's one of the things that I always look around, and if I just see this huge tract of African tulip, it's like, that could be Ulu agroforest. But I want to mention one more thing, which you reminded me of with your ahupua'a poster. So in my office, I have an illustration. It's a poster, an illustration of an Ulu agroforest that actually a kumu gave me, Mingwei. And my kids look at it. My son is 6. And sometimes he'll say, can we go there today? Or can we go there this weekend? And they have different things that stand out to them about the poster. But for my son, there's a stream. And there's like some shadows of fish. And he's obsessed with fishing. So he's like, can we go to that stream and fish today? And I love that because, these are such beautiful, attractive images. Like, even a child can see that this is like a healthy environment and they want to go to that place. Let's recreate more of those places for our keiki in real life, just like Kawika's doing.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Kawika, you want to expand on how is ahupua'a living relevant to sustainability in Hawaii today?
Hikino. Yeah. I want to first mahalo Mahina for the question.
Yes.
And I want to repeat the question again. The question for us panelists is, how is the ahupua'a living relevant to sustainability in Hawaii today?
Yes.
And while I want to mahalo my fellow panelists for just sharing all of your mana and aloha and to answer this question, I want to shift us a little bit. This question is really human-centric, and I want to shift us to Āina-centric, and then just rearrange the words, right? And rephrase this question as such. How is a living ahupua'a relevant to sustainability in Hawaii today? I think that's the bottom line question. If the ahupua'a not living, can it sustain human life? The short answer is a'ole.
Right.
We know this because of our mo'oku'auhau through our kumulipo. We are the last organism here in Hawaii to ever be created from makua. Therefore, everything before us is our kupuna. And it's our kuleana to awamo that and malama our kupuna as such. So I would ask the question, right? How is a living ahupua'a relevant to sustainability in Hawaii today? We know that we live in an island community or island communities. Our resources are finite. To me, the ahupua'a, the Āina tell us what can and what cannot. The relevancy of a living ahupua'a, right, can tell us how future developments should be made. Exactly what the cap of transients can come here and move, right? So if we just simply listen to our Āina kupuna, I really believe we're going to find these sustainable living metrics of what 2024 and what 3024 can look like. So to me is Mahalo for the question. Let's pivot from human-centric kind mana'o and thoughts and perspectives to Āina-centric mana'o thoughts and perspectives. Mahalo.
Yeah, thank you, Kawika. Yeah, I like that pivoting. It gives us another, not just perspective, but another option to self-determination as well. Yeah. Wait, let me just double check. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to ask this question, and I think it might be geared towards you, Kawika, as well. Are there any examples of other cultures that could act as role models for transforming food systems, urban farms, Korean farming techniques, etc.? And that might also be for the other panelists. But do you have? Should we ask? Because I think Donna might have some. You might have some.
Akoni, if it's appropriate, I think let's first inquire with the active farmer.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer by trade.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm not practicing farming.
Yeah.
So let's please, direct.
I'm just honoring how the
to
questions
our
are. Yeah.
resident farmers here on the panel.
Yeah. Mahalo for that. I'm just. I will share that.
And then if you would like. I can elaborate.
Yeah, I think they were requesting you. That's why.
Okay. Well, tell them put the name. Don't be ashamed.
Yeah. But yeah, I will probably pose it to Donna first. Are there any examples of other cultures that could act as role models for transforming food systems here in Hawaii?
I think that there's something to learn from all cultures and knowledge systems. I really do. I think that for Hawaii specifically, though, native Hawaiian farmers were absolutely brilliant farmers. And, the more you learn about traditional Hawaiian farming practices, the more you realize that they were extremely varied. I happen to be married to an indigenous cropping system scientist, so I have an unfair advantage, but I listen to him a lot, even when he thinks I'm not. But I think the real brilliance that the native Hawaiian farmers had, and they're still around. I don't want to talk about native Hawaiian farming like it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been super marginalized, right, because of our history here. But the real brilliance was the specificity of adapting different practices to different places.
Yeah.
And that really came from knowing the Āina, from knowing the weather patterns, from knowing the stars, and really knowing the place. And so the system, that was developed in North Kohala, for example, that combined sugarcane and sweet potatoes primarily, is a unique system. Yeah. And the system in South Kona that was really a hyper-diversified ulu agroforest was specific to Kona. And there were many, again, like place-specific variations on several themes. Yeah. Oftentimes people only think of like lo'ikalo when they think of traditional Hawaiian food systems. Yeah. But that was just one of many different types of food production systems that Hawaiians had here. Yeah. And so I really think for us, especially because we're coming from a place of, so much depletion in our local food system and in our food production practices here, I really think we should start by looking to traditional Hawaiian practices. And really before they're forgotten. Because there's been so much, so much that has been lost. I think before any more time goes on, we really have to just focus on revitalizing and relearning the ways of our kupuna here. Yeah. And fortunately, there is a lot of really good work being done. I think that we're, over the last few decades, there has been a real revival. And so I think that should just really be the focus on continuing to rebuild that knowledge base and relearn some of these practices.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Kawika, you got anything to share about?
Well, I know Donna did a great job of sharing all the old Hawaiian traditional farming and all of that, and it's awesome. But when they ask about other cultures, I kind of see the Asian cultures. Yeah. It's kind of very similar to Hawaii farming because they do have a lot of the same crops that we have too. So I think some of their methods are good learning. You know, some of their ways, their different ways and methods is excellent. I've tried some of them, you know, as well, and man, it really works.
Yeah.
So that's the first culture that kind of comes up in my mind for to learn from. Is, you know, they have old history too as well. So I see the Asian cultural farming practices are also something nice to look at and learn from as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Kawika, you wanna expand on that?
Sure. Yeah. Real short?
Yep.
Okay. What was the question again?
Is there any examples of other cultures that could act as role models for transforming food systems?
Role models for transforming food systems.
Yeah.
You know, the how we define food systems and what part of the food systems we actually talking about, when you're going to get different answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just generally, and then I see over there, you know, Korean farming techniques and urban farms and all of that. I just want to share, you know, just share a little historical context. Yeah. The kuleana of our mo'i nui, the kuleana of our ali'i in kingdom times was to circumvent the world, go around the world and find out what relationships we need and bring home the most up-to-date, the most advanced technologies. And our ali'i did that, you know. So I believe there's value everywhere. Yeah. And like Dana shared, most of the farming practices, period, are place specific.
Yeah.
You know, so I just want to share just a little story in 40 seconds maybe. Yeah. And this is not a shameless plug, I promise. But I currently serve as the president of the board of directors for Cho Global Natural Farming. I've had the opportunity over the years to travel to Korea, to travel to Japan, to travel to other Asian countries, to experience how they relate to Āina. Because food is merely the byproduct of the pilino relationship between a good farmer and healthy Āina. Yeah, food is the result of the farmer exercising his or her, you know, pilina or relationship to Āina. So I had the opportunity to host Master Cho for one day, and Master Hankyu Cho is from Korea. He is the creator, the founder of Korean natural farming. I had the opportunity to host him in 2016 for a whole day. And he came to Ko'olapoko Oahu, and he visited us. And I had the opportunity, you know, I was working for Kanihuna Moku Voyaging Academy at that time. Shout out to Kamakea folks. Mahalo nui. And it was, in fact, through an OHA grant that this opportunity came to be. So mahalo ya OHA. You know, we sailed Master Hankyu Cho out to Ahualaka. There, I explained to Master Cho, you know, where we were geographically and all of the mo'olelo surrounding us, right, in Kaneohe Bay. Yeah, and then he stopped me and he said, there is nothing more I can teach you. He said, you already possess everything you need through your ancestors. And that was shared to me, right, through his translator, and I had two translators, and I had my own translator, just to verify, right? And that's exactly what Master Hankyu Cho, the founder of Korean Natural Farming, expressed. He said, you already have everything you possess through your ancestors. And he said, you look around, it took millions and millions of years, right, in order for the mountains to form, the ko'olau to form, and all of the ridge, and, you know, he said, all of the razor edge, you know, on the kualono, and then all of that ike, all of that mana flowed down to exactly where we were. And he said, the fact that you explained it in a traditional context, I have nothing more to teach you, my disciple. That's exactly what he said. Hold it. You know, and that's why in my mind, I was just like, wait a minute. Our kupuna knew this whole time.
Yeah.
So, you know, our kupuna did circumvent the world before we even had a written language, to go, travel, figure out what was the best methods to apply, and they brought them back home and developed the Ahupua'a system. So I would say, in short, yes, there are other cultures around the world. However, you already possess everything you need through your ancestors, through your kupuna.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks.
Mahalo.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, how are we doing on time, Fai?
Yeah, we get time.
Okay. Mahalo.
At this time, Kamaile, if there's any questions from the floor, if there's anyone from the floor that has any questions. Yeah.
So there's people in their 20s and 30s moving back to the island and wanting to get, in touch with their roots. So where do you think is a good place to start of learning, traditional farming methods or just wanting to get more in touch with that?
Yeah, that's a great question that we can segue into some of our closing remarks. Kawika and Donna, if you guys want to share some information. So the question was, where can I, there's a movement of people moving back to the islands, and how can they get reconnected to the traditional knowledge of farming and traditional methods of farming? Where can people go to? I was going to mention, if I may, Kawika, can you give us the inspiration behind the word Āina and university? Because to me, that's a schooling process. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that might help with sharing mana'o as to where can one go to get learning.
Okay. There's probably a couple answers to those couple questions. So as far as for your question, I think the young generations coming back and wanting to, gain interest and learning about traditional farming or gardening, is that I would suggest they start off small. It's something just to see if that's what you're really into, or visit, or volunteer at locations that they allow volunteers, just to see if that's what they really want. Because a lot of times, farming and gardening is romanticized of in today's world, if I can grow my own food, I can do this. But people don't realize, and not everybody, but there's people that they don't realize the work that it takes to do farming in any aspect. So that's a lot of things that we teach at Āina University is let's learn how to work, and then let's worry about growing the food. Because sometimes you can have a 10 by 10 garden and you can't take care of. So it's kind of, it might be poho or waste time to show you, oh wow, this is it. But if you really don't feel it and have that hard work ethic, it may be a little difficult. So I would say volunteering would be a great start to see if you want to dive into that realm of farming in Aloha Āina. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would encourage anybody to do that. And on the other question, I think for Āina University and how we got that name, first of all, being in the Ōhelo Hawaii with all my wife and Ohana and being involved with all of that for so many years, of course I wanted a nice Hawaiian long name, that explained. But then I thought, I was kind of tugging at it because I was thinking I have to do that because we've dedicated a lot of our life towards the language. But then I thought, shucks, we're looking more like worldly to have a lot of people to learn about them and to find it. So that's where we kind of changed to the whole Āina University thing, because it was easier for them to pronounce because everybody can say university and even Āina. So that's how we came up with Āina University. But beyond that, the Āina is actually the kumu or the teacher for everyone. And the university part that's the highest level of learning that we know of in today's world is, at the university or the college. So when I just put those two together, so Āina University, and that's where the land teaches you at her highest degree, if there was a degree. That's what they're teaching you when you connect to the Āina, is at the high degree of learning, which is at the university. Therefore, we came up with Āina University. And our motto is grow, gather, and grind.
I like that. Yeah, thank you, Kawika. I like that, the Āina teachers.
Yeah, because people can feel it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's that mana, it's that vibration, it's that electricity, it's all of that, that feel that you can't fake that,
Yeah.
And kids are telling you that, kupuna are telling you that, so they all have no reason to lie. So I like when I have a kupuna come walking in and say, wow, this reminds me when I was a child at my grandpa's place. And I'm like, wow, imagine me hearing that. This feels so good. Then you have a young, kindergarten or first grader go, oh, thank you, Uncle. It feels so nice over here. And it's just, the Āina really is speaking to them. So that's what I always call ourselves just a gatekeeper. We don't just open the gate.
Yeah.
And you go inside and let her teach you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's hope that answers the question.
Awesome. I'm gonna give some time to Donna if you want to elaborate. Where can someone go to learn about or how to connect?
Yeah, I agree with Kawika. I was going to say the same thing, to volunteer as a starting place. There's a lot of places to volunteer. I wish there was like a single clearinghouse with all the farm volunteers, listed. I don't know that there is, but in addition to Āina University, the co-op does a monthly volunteer day at OK Farms, which is here in Hilo. We planted a 5-acre ulu agroforest with them about 2 years ago, so we just have an opportunity for community to come and work in the agroforest every month. This month it's going to be, I believe, April 20th, and kind of for Earth Day. We'll have a bunch of folks there, and there's lots more as well. So I would definitely start there, and maybe try to expose yourself to a few different types of farms or organizations that are doing Āina-based work. And what was I going to say something else about that? Yeah, I think I would just start there. Volunteer on as many kind of different types of operations as you can to get exposed to more. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Go Farm is a fantastic training program. I feel like maybe that's next step. Like after you volunteered at a few places and this is something you're interested in and you want to dive a little deeper. And their program starts with like an ag exposure that's pretty light, but gives you more both hands-on and kind of classroom setting education. And then if you like that, you can go several steps further. They have a real multi-step program that takes you deeper and deeper until they really help you start farming commercially on your own. So it's a fantastic program. I think that would be step 2.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, Kawika, you got anything you want to share about the question? Are you good?
Well, I just want to first acknowledge mahalo for the question. Yeah, and mahalo to our panelists for covering all of that ground. And if I can just add some value here, for those of today's generations that are coming home, I would encourage you, adopt a kupuna. We have many kupuna who don't frequently enough engage with their mo'opuna or makua because they had to move away. So start in your own community and work on yourself and build your own capacity and figure out how you approach your lahui, how you rejoin your lahui. Start with a kupuna. Drive around the community, figure out what house needs help cutting grass. Start there. Because Āina without kanaka, it's just lepo. So today we have kupuna, much like yesterday, that passing away. With them, leave the ike. So I would encourage our youth, our generation that coming home. First, welcome home. In addition to that, adopt a kupuna. Whether that's kupuna Āina, you're gonna know. Reconnect yourself. So mahalo again for the question.
Mahalo, Kawika.
Thank you. I do want to circle back to you, Donna. I think there's discussion previous about replacing rice with Hawaii-grown staple crops, you know, and I think there's a link I think is being shared right now at this time online of type 2 diabetes recipe book. You want to elaborate about that a little bit, or what? Yeah?
Sure, yeah. So I guess this is bringing us back to the link between food and health, which, you know, what you eat has a huge impact on your health. Yeah. And there is really a, what's the word, when there's a like population-wide health problem, the word is, I'm just missing it right now, not a pandemic, but an epidemic. Yes. Thank you. of diet-related diseases, specifically, right, the most common ones are type 2 diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease, which are related to each other. Yeah. And Native Hawaiians and other Pacific Islanders are way more at risk for these diet-related diseases than, you know, Caucasians and Latinos and other demographic groups. So there's a really strong linkage between indigenous Hawaiian crops and foods and kind of diet-related health problems today. And this isn't just a personal issue. It ends up costing our society billions of dollars a year in health-related costs. You know, it's a taxpayer issue, it's a political issue, it's a health worker issue, and it's ultimately a personal issue. Yeah. And there have been studies that have shown that really just returning to an indigenous diet can reverse and prevent these health problems. So it's a cost-effective way, right? It costs less money than insulin, both to the individual and to the society. And it can be a really delicious and fulfilling change as well. So we were really fortunate. About a year ago, we connected with a public health internship program, and we got an intern, and she interned with us for the whole spring, and she was getting her master's in public health. And she helped us really learn a lot more internally about type 2 diabetes in particular was her focus. Her father has type 2 diabetes, so it's a personal issue for herself to try to help her father, you know, overcome that without being on medication for the rest of his life. And that led us to creating this cookbook, which we just published last month. So it's a type 2 diabetes friendly recipes, all using Hawaii-grown staple crops. Awesome. Ulu, kalo, uala, pala'ai, which is not a traditional Hawaiian crop, but it does grow really well here. So pala'ai, or like kabocha pumpkin, indigenous to other parts of the world, speaking of, you know, connecting with other knowledge. And it grows great in agroforestry settings alongside ulu. And then we also, you know, did some variations on that. So poi is included as an ingredient. Ulu flour is included as a gluten-free, naturally gluten-free flour substitute. And we partnered with a whole bunch of different chefs and farmers to contribute the recipes. So that link is available, and it's a free download online. And hopefully it will help folks, you know, incorporate more Hawaii-grown staple crops into their diet for their personal health benefit, that of their loved ones. You know, many of us do have like grandparents or parents who are now dealing with these issues that didn't affect them when they were younger. And also really for our entire community's benefit, the economic impact of eating local, the environmental impact of, you know, just supporting the revitalization of these systems, these ecological systems that also grow food. They do both at once. So there's so many wins.
Yeah, and I think I think there's you know, you can basically if you want to get involved, like go and plant a ulu tree, right?
Yeah, if you have any Āina that, you know, you're able to decide what gets planted there, and you don't have an ulu tree yet, you know, planting a single tree, they say, can feed an entire family really for generations. And it's just a gorgeous tree.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people say that's your BFF, right?
Yeah.
Breadfruit friend.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to share one more link that you shared with us that we will share online as well, is about the agroforestry funding opportunity for farmers. You want to elaborate a little bit about that as well before?
Sure. So this is a funding opportunity specifically for farmers. So it's not for backyard growers, but for those who want to expand their farm or start a farm. It's a funding opportunity through the USDA, and we've partnered with the Nature Conservancy.
Oh, yeah.
And so it will provide up to about 80% of the cost of expanding or starting a new agroforestry system.
Nice.
Not limited to Ulu. We're helping to manage the program for the whole Hawaii region. We just closed the first enrollment cycle in December, and the first selected farmers will be announced, I think, this month. The next cycle will open in the summer.
Awesome.
So if you're interested, or if you know a farmer or a prospective farmer who might be interested, please, you can send them.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that, for those links.
And if I could just jump in.
Of course.
Yeah. OHA has a few products, and we also have a mahi'ai loan out.
Yes.
That, if you could please hit us up. And if you are interested in applying for that, was it USDA?
Yep.
For the USDA grant, and if USDA in fact is going to match up to 80%, yeah, then please come see us if you're one of our beneficiaries.
Yes.
Come home.
Yes.
Check us out.
For sure. Yeah. Good plug, Kawika. Kawika, is there anything that you want our audience to take from our discussion today? Do you want to share anything as we start to close up and wind down our conversation?
I just want to leave this discussion panel by saying at Āina University, or for ourselves as the Louis Ohana, we're not telling everybody that they should be farming. What we're telling them is you should support the people who are farming and understand the work that it takes to get those healthy foods onto the plate. So that's what I want to leave with everybody, is that yes, if you choose farming and you choose gardening or you growing something, great. But we're not trying to tell you to be a farmer and just because it's a special breed of people.
It's a way of life, yeah.
It's a way of life. The work is just tremendous, and it never ends. So, but if you can't do it, just support the people who do.
Mahalo. Yeah, mahalo, Kawika. It's great words. Donna, you have anything you'd like to share in closing?
That is a great final word, Kawika. I absolutely, wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. And there's lots of ways to support local farmers. Look for their product wherever you shop or at the farmer's market. It really, really makes a difference. And I know that it can cost more and be, harder to access. There are some great local programs to help with that, including DeBucks, if you haven't heard of it. DeBucks is a great program led by the Hawaii Food Basket, our food bank here on Hawaii Island. And you can actually qualify for a 50% discount on local products if you use SNAP EBT. So if you have SNAP EBT, look for the DeBucks sticker wherever you shop. It's available through food hubs, at some farmers markets, and at lots of grocery stores. It's called DeBucks. So that makes local more accessible.
Yeah.
And then I guess my final last word is I do one or both of these. Replace rice with ulu or kalo at least once a week. Just start with once a week. And if you don't already have an ulu tree in your yard, plant one. And if you have one, dig up a little keiki from a root runner and gift it to your neighbor. Because really every house in Hawaii should have an ulu tree. That is basic food system resilience. So those are my 2 actionable items.
And provide good shade for a picnic table underneath.
Yes. And you can make lei out of the leaf sheaths. So Merrie Monarch connection.
Right. Awesome. Kawika, you get any closing remarks for us as we wind down our conversation?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Well, if I may, I just want to first acknowledge Trustee Trask and for staying here on the panel, and mahalo you for your leadership. And I also want to acknowledge Kapohana. She's also here in the building, and I want to acknowledge, your paya and the crew here, because without you guys, none of this information would reach our beneficiaries. So I want to first mahalo you folks for putting this on, and mahalo for the invite, and all of the aloha and welcoming here. If there was a single call to action that I could leave here in this panel and in this discussion today, it would simply be, to me, right? It would simply be, know your food. Yeah. Look at the labels. Yeah. And if that's not who you are, then go rediscover yourself. Yeah. So I kako our fellow panelists. Yeah. Support local. Identify, who you are in the food system that you exist in. Yeah. Know yourself.
Yeah.
Know your food.
Yeah.
So please, kako, lahui, do your research. Yeah. And then a second one. We need you folks, when it's time to advocate and it's time for policy change, we need our hui, we need our community support, in organizing. Yeah. Much of what we have today exists because of grassroots organizing. So our mana at OHA lies within our beneficiaries, and we look to you to help you build your future.
Awesome.
So, mahalo nui.
Thank you, Koike, for those words. That's awesome. Yes.
I got one thing I wanted to add. If you're looking for a model of other people that lost their food, I would recommend you go and take a look at what happened with American Indians on the White Earth Reservation.
On which reservations?
White Earth.
White Earth.
It's in Minnesota. They started in the 1980s. Their primary food source was wild rice. But they lost their lands and were taken, and so they went to white bread and white rice, and the health statistics showed them what they were losing. And so they went back and worked with their kupuna, and they found out that their primary source of food was manamen, the Indian wild rice. And they could not plant it. And their kupunas had passed, and they went and did research in books from missionaries, and there they learned that the Indians never planted rice on land, but they went to the ponds in Minnesota, and they planted it there.
Awesome.
And so in the 80s they went by canoe.
Awesome.
To all the ponds looking for a few pieces of rice, a few left. Yeah. And they harvested it, and they planted it, and within 10 years they brought manamen back to the diet. Diabetes dropped at the White Earth Reservation. All the people went to plant in the ponds, and then in the 80s they were acknowledged globally as an example of how lost indigenous foods could be brought back. They had the Global Food Conference in Turin, Italy, and when the Indians got there, there was no native people in Europe alive that had come to share knowledge other than the Sami who came with the reindeer.
From the reindeers.
From the reindeer people.
Yeah.
But what happened to them when they went to Turin was all of the Europeans became very interested, and today they market manamen, Indian wild rice. Their leaders, Winona LaDue, they're in Minnesota, and I was there with them. I went to see it, with how they were bringing back their crops. So they didn't have any farmers in Turin, Italy, but every single hotel wanted their crop. And when we went down to meet with them, it was Maxime's of Paris in the front front of the line. So all the restaurants of Europe now bring in real Indian wild rice, and if you go there, you will see them. They don't plant on the land; they go by canoe, and they have sticks that they strike the rice with it. I went to help them harvest and that, but it's a very good example of how indigenous peoples under the American system totally lost their native food, totally, and the land that went with it. And today they're marketing globally diabetes way down. And when you go there, they will serve you their two food crops, which is fresh maple syrup with the trees on the res, and in the ponds they took all that.
They're wild
They
rice.
do not want catfish brought in. They stopped importing foreign foods to replace, which is what they tried to do in Hawaii with our ponds. But there is a real life example, the return of Indian wild rice from Minnesota, and that came about in the 80s.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee, for sharing that. The White Earth tribe,
Yeah.
Mahalo nui. Kawika, you had a little bit more.
No, I just want to mahalo, Trustee Trask.
Yeah.
And if I could just share,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay. For our beneficiaries and our viewers, Haloa ke kalo, haloa ke kanaka, haloa kakawapau. Yeah, that's the order. Yeah, that's the pono of our lahui. Haloa ke kalo, haloa ke kanaka, and haloa kakawapau. Yeah. So to reinstate indigenous staples, especially for the native Hawaiians, our mo'oku auhau go all the way back to haloa ke kalo, and then haloa ke kanaka, and then the rest of us as a lahui. So if we're talking about reinstating, then we must know our history and kuleana.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
mahalo, Trustee, for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Awesome conversation today. Mahalo to our panelists, Donna and Kawika and Kuika for coming in from Oahu today. Mahalo for our discussion with Āina Momona and self-determination. And hopefully our community will take away some of our ike and plant that seed in our community for them to take on that self-determination of Āina Momona. Yeah. With that, I'd like to mahalo you guys for participating in this discussion, and mahalo to our viewers from online and our participants here in the room. Thank you for hanging out with us. And hui ho. Tomorrow is our last panel discussion, which will be at 1 p.m. here at Nani Gardens. If you want to come and participate in our live discussion, we'll be here at 1 p.m. for Kai Moana, which will be featuring Uncle Saul Kaho'ohalahala, Roxy Keli'i Kipikane, Kolo Haka, and Kalei Nu'uhiwa, and we'll be diving deep into some interesting Kai Moana discussions and just a little bit of insight. We'll be talking a little bit about deep sea mining and a little bit about other discussions around protection and sanctuary in Hawaii. So with that, have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of the Merrie Monarch, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Aloha and ahui.
Mahalo.
Yeah.